I say put mental health first, because if you don't, then you're not going to enjoy your sport and you're not going to succeed as much as you want to.
So while y'all at it right now, take care of y'all bodies, you know what I mean? Don't take care of y'all chicken, you feel me? Don't take care of y'all mentals, because look, we ain't lasting that long.
How did you keep your mental health intact during the whole medical journey? This is a question asked by The Real Sim Shady on Instagram, and whew, it's a lot to unpack. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that are new, I'm Nav, or Dr. Nav, aka Dr. B. I'm the founder of MEDspiration and also a current third-year family medicine resident. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about 7 specific things that I do nearly on a daily basis that have helped keep my mental health intact through the whole medical journey. And that would be 4 years of med school, about 2 years, 1 month, 10 days of residency, but who's counting? And I want to be completely transparent. I don't have it all figured out. These are things that I do on a daily basis to help keep me self-regulated, and they have helped, but they may not help you. I'm hopeful that if you do find 1 or 2 things that are useful, that they might help you through your own journey. Important statistic, around 400 physicians take their lives every year from suicide. And that's huge, because that's more than a doctor a day who's committing suicide for one reason or another. Mental health is huge everywhere, but something that's not talked about as much is the mental health of the healthcare provider themselves. Number 1, the importance of sleep, rest, play, and meditation. I definitely say to all my mentees who are still med students, sleep is the second aspect of studying. You know, you need to make sure you're getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep so you can actually rewire your brain and actually learn the things that you've been studying. And that actually happens in your sleep. I wanted to specifically discuss this from a resident standpoint as well. So a study in the Journal of General Internal Medicine found that the mean nightly sleep time dropped about 14.4% during intern year, which is the first year of residency, from 7.6 hours to about 6.5 hours. On-call nights are particularly terrible. On average, residents will sleep 2.19 hours a night. Surgery interns were unsurprisingly the worst off. They only slept about 5.8 hours a day on average. Internal medicine wasn't too far off from that, about 6.3 hours on average. If you're a resident out there, you know what that means. We've all kind of been there where you don't sleep. It's been 24 hours and you stayed up. It becomes very challenging and it can become very anxiety provoking over time. So for me personally, one thing that I do, I'm very, very, very militant about my sleep. You can ask my wife about this. I'm very sensitive to sleep debt. So if I do get sleep debt, I'm cranky and I'm not the same person. If I'm on an inpatient service month, I try to make sure that I'm getting 7 hours of sleep, and that means passing out at like 9:30 and waking up at like 5 sometimes, 5:30. Try not to get into debt, because on those months inpatient, even if you miss 1 hour one day, it like adds up near the end of the month, and that means turning off those TV shows early. Just being disciplined enough to do that is kind of challenging when you don't have time for yourself. Also, taking time to rest and play. I wanted to talk about something Brene Brown mentions. She mentions doing something that you enjoy that has no outcome attached to it is really, really important. For example, you know, I'm drawing this artwork right here. I did this in med school. I wanted to get back into it. Really no outcome attached to it. I just want to be able to draw and be free. Another thing, my wife and I, we usually like to set up time we call it playtime, where we just non-judgment, we just hang out and we have a good time. Another very important thing that I would add is meditation. I actually started meditating 8 or 9 years ago, and now I meditate every morning. Started off very, very simple, just doing a 4-7-8 breathing technique and being out in nature, practicing silence and just observing. That's how it started. It eventually developed into a breathwork practice. I do the Wim Hof Method. I will leave links below if you're interested in knowing what that specific breathwork practice is. I've kind of added my own mantras into it, and then I typically do a prayer after that. I do this every morning. It's so necessary to get your mind in the right space before you do anything in the day. And number 2, exercise.
I'm not negotiating with myself.
Yeah.
The deal was already made. The deal was made when I set out at the beginning of the summer and said, this is the training plan I'm doing. I signed that contract with myself. I'm doing it. throughout that process, you'll start talking to yourself like, man, I think I need to, maybe if we, nope.
Back in the day when I had all the time in the world, I would say more so college time, man, I was so focused on eating right, and I was making sure I was exercising, I was getting my cardiovascular activity, I was doing high intensity, and I was doing weight bearing activity. Now it's a lot simpler because you might only have like 20 to 30 minutes to be able to exercise. It might just be a 10-minute run outside, which usually equals a little bit more than a mile, and then just coming in and doing 20 minutes of high intensity and calling it a day. Sometimes rather than doing high intensity, I'll do weight bearing activities, squats, deadlifts, bench press, or just body weight exercises, pull-ups, push-ups, dips, simple stuff. There is a lot of data on obviously exercise and mental health. One thing that does come to mind, Dr. Andrew Huberman, I've had him on the podcast. You can suppress anxiety through forward movement, even if it's walking. I feel that. I feel like when I'm stressed out at the end of the day, man, just going on a run and getting a sweat in, it feels so good. Something to be mindful of, obviously, is to make sure you're getting your activity in it. And even if that's just walking, it's going to be better than nothing, okay? Number 3 is having a safe space with someone you trust and is reliable. Can be a partner, friend, anybody who can just hold space and listen. Disclaimer, it shouldn't be someone who tries to change you or fix you. It should just be someone who's actively listening and letting you process. And luckily, I couples matched here with my wife, and we always co-regulate together. So we always have discussions, and we can always, if we're frustrated about something, come home and just talk about it and listen to one another without feeling the need to cut each other off or tell each other what to do. Odds are, people are pretty smart. They usually know what to do, and they don't need you to tell them that. They typically just need to let out the frustrations. And number 4, being extremely militant with your diet. Your diet's going to be very, very important through med school and residency. And there's so many studies that link the microbiome now to mental health, to anxiety, to depression. I have a bunch of podcasts on that, and I'll link those below if you guys are interested in learning more about the science of your diet and mental health. I feel like if you don't have a good food routine, diet routine, it's only going to get worse because you're not at home, you don't have as much time to meal prep, and at least where I'm at, all the food around us is always junk food. People are always celebrating birthdays or, something where there's just something that's going to induce diabetes around you. I have a very specific rule for this, actually. I don't eat out at all. I don't eat any junk food. The whole entire day, people offer me so many candies, sweets, cupcakes, all this stuff. I just respectfully say no. After about the first year of residency, I think everybody realized it. So then now all my nurses and everybody, they just don't even ask because they're like, oh, well, Nob needs a banana or an apple or something. And, they'll bring me some fruits every now and then. So it has made a difference. But I do take time to eat the foods that I enjoy. Like I love chocolate. I always have a little bit of chocolate before I go to sleep. And that's my treat to myself for staying disciplined.
I want to be the best I can be. I know when I go out there, it's not to compare myself to this guy or that guy. It's everyone's good. Everyone plays good. I still feel like there's still more to be accomplished. I was practicing the last 2 days, working on my technique, on my fundamentals, on all the things with my training that I still feel like I can be better, be a percentage better.
There's been studies done on individuals and the mindset that they choose. Choosing the growth mindset versus a fixed mindset proved to be more beneficial in school-aged kids and likely in adults as well. Growth mindset is always believing that you can improve upon your skills. It's knowing that the mistakes you made might allow you to learn and improve and grow. It's kind of a positive spin on everything that can happen, and you always knowing that growth is a possibility for yourself and that change is always a possibility. Versus a fixed mindset is more so believing I can't change anything. Things have always been this way. They'll always stay this way. Having a growth mindset is so important, man, because when you're first just getting into, med school, you don't know very much and you're pretty overwhelmed and you're studying so much and you feel stupid every day. And then lo and behold, you graduate, you become an intern, and you're repeating that process again. You get better over time, and the mistakes are so important, and they're a pivotal part of the journey. Implementing that with all of it, the USMLEs through med school and every second of residency, has only been beneficial, and I always remind myself this. So when I'm getting feedback from an attending or anybody else, I'm always thinking growth mindset. Like if someone's giving you feedback and there's something I can improve on, like that's something that I gotta practice a growth mindset with. If there's some mistake that I've made that I have to take accountability for, I do it. I make sure I take accountability because I know that that's a part of the growth mindsets. And that leads me straight into competing with only yourself and who you were yesterday. I still remember being a med student and just comparing myself to all the other med students and comparing what so-and-so got on step 1 versus what so-and-so got on step 2 and like what specialty will end up in all this stuff. And I always want to try and turn my weaknesses into strengths. And I actually ask myself this when I meditate every morning. I say, God, please reveal to me my weaknesses and my shortcomings so I can inherently turn them into my strengths. I meditate on that.
Those times when you get up early and you work hard, those times when you stay up late and you work hard, those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream. It's not the destination, it's the journey. If you guys can understand that, then what you'll see happen is that you won't accomplish your dreams. Your dreams won't come true. Something greater will.
This is something that I actually tell all my med students all the time. There's different types of anxiety. Physiologic, normal anxiety that actually allows you to perform better, gives you that adrenaline rush that allows you to meet that finish line or that deadline, right? And then there's pathologic anxiety that cripples you. The thing is, there's a fine line between the two, and it's usually your preparedness that makes a difference. So for example, if I'm lacking preparedness for something, my anxiety is going to be crippling and I'm unable to do anything. Versus, if I'm overly prepared and I'm overly dedicated to something, I'm still anxious and nervous about what I got to do, but I have this self-confidence, this knowing that I could be competent in it because I put in the work. Well, that's kind of how med school and residency go as well. For all my med students who are studying for their boards, only your work ethic will eliminate that anxiety and fear. There's a certain level of dedication you have to put in before you start seeing the results, and that's just the way it is, and you have to earn it. The same thing with residency. Honestly, I gotta be real, a lot of times you don't feel ready and you get thrown into stuff. That is a challenge in itself, but it can help you grow in the long run again, especially with the growth mindset. Something that I implemented in residency, reading every day, reading on cases that I have seen that day, making notes in my phone on every rotation that I've been on, and I'll make sure that I leave that for that month, but then I can always come back to that later in another month if I need to review that. This was a topic that's so close to my heart because I've struggled so much with my own sanity and mental health, and I'm still struggling with that. So if you're out there and you're going through this medical journey and you're struggling, I just want you to know you're not alone. I hope you found this useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers. If you have other topics you want me to touch on, please comment them below and we'll do that, okay? All right, guys, much love and stay Medspired. Thank you.